comprehensive models of teaching. There are 3 models. And let's take a look at model 1, the transmitter of knowledge. So that is to say, like what lecturing, using advanced organizers, and so on. Okay, take a look at the characteristics here. Here, this model emphasizes the need to give students basic facts and information before they can be expected to think for themselves. For example, start out with advanced organizers so as to give clear direction. Right? So then what use examples, then what lecture, you give facts and information, and then what reinstatement of generalized principle, like a summary, that type of thing. So you have lecture, and most of this here, these are what Flinders, what direct influence, right? Now, take a look at the advantage here. The advantage is the clear and highly structured systematic approach to teaching. So that's good, right? The disadvantage is that much of the work of learning is controlled and directed by the teacher. The students was simply passive recipients of information, right? So here, an example of model 1 is what Ausubel's expository teaching or receptive learning. So of course here, this one is what, because it is clear and highly structured, okay, systematic approach. So this method is good for what? It's good for 7-11 students, that is to say students in Piaget's was stage 3, concrete operational stage. Okay, this is a good model for that because it is highly structured and then systematic. Right? So students at that age range, they were like this. Right? All right, let's take a look at model 2, inductive. Okay, inductive inquiry. So that is what, remember Bruner's coding system, and then Bruner's one from what examples or from specific to the general, example to what, the general principle, okay, to the rule, right? All right, so the characteristics are what here, asking what open-ended questions plus praises or encourages and accept and build on students' ideas to help help the student to discover the concept. Right? So the teacher's role here is to unveil the fundamental structure of a discipline. So the idea here is to teach concepts or the process of inquiry, not facts. Right? So here is using what Flinders indirect inference, indirect approach, right? So that is to say to teach how to solve problems by understanding the structure of the concept, right? By understanding the structure of the concept, okay? This is what the discovery method of teaching, by analyzing material and asking what questions, but not giving answers, in such a way to spur the students to learn by helping them discover the answer. So this is what discovery learning, the Bruner's idea. All right. So the advantage here is that student participation is essential and self-gratifying because one they discover the concept, so this is self-gratifying. And the learning, of course, occurs at an intellectually more sophisticated level. So that's to say what here in inductive learning is suitable for what? For Piaget's stage 4 formal operational stage. Right? It is not suitable for concrete operational stage students. Right? So the disadvantage here is the students, what the disadvantage is, it's what this model 2 inductive learning, inductive teaching, inductive learning, it rests on the assumption that students have developed formal operational thought. Okay, so therefore it does not match younger students' developmental stage, so not suitable for concrete operational stage. Right? So this is what discovery learning is what's gratifying, of course, but it is honestly, it is difficult, right? It is difficult. And so take a look at model 3, interpersonal learning, that Carl Rogers, remember Carl Rogers? One of the founders of humanistic psychology, okay? And of course, the other one is Abraham Maslow. We will talk about Maslow in motivation, right? So interpersonal learning, so Carl Rogers, right? So look at the characteristics here is that they're all Flanders, indirect influence, say accept feeling, praises, appropriate learning behavior, accepts and builds on students' ideas, stresses the development of warm human relationships between teacher and students. And so the purpose here is according to Carl Rogers, is to remove the inhibitions imposed by outside direction. And in doing that, then self-directed learning will follow. So that is a tall order, right? But let's take a look at Carl Rogers' 3 necessary and sufficient conditions for the promotion of learning. Take a look at the 3 conditions here. Empathy. So teachers are sensitive enough to understand the emotions the students are experiencing. Now remember, Carl Rogers, he was a very successful and highly admired clinical psychologist. Right? So he was termed the most how should I say, the kindest clinical psychologist or counselor in the history of psychology. Okay? He is a very kind person. So empathy here, empathy teachers are sensitive enough to understand the emotion the students are experiencing. Okay? It's like Carl Rogers, okay? Carl Rogers has displayed empathy towards his patients. Now, so the second one here, unconditional positive regard, okay? Unconditional positive regard. That is to accept the students for what they are without passing judgment. That is to say, regardless of color of the skin, socioeconomic status, IQ, clothes, culture, appearance, and so on. Okay, regardless of all that. Okay, so that is what unconditioned, no condition attached. Congruence. What is it? Okay, that is genuineness. Okay, there's no hidden agenda. Okay, remember what hidden agenda? What is being real, honest. So that is what, to be really interested in liking children and listening to their feelings. So that's congruency, genuinely what like what students. Right? So these are what the necessary and sufficient what conditions for the promotion of learning. So let's take a look at the advantages. The student's self-concept as a learner increases. So that's for sure, that right? Self-direction in learning increases. Well, let's hope that's the case. Positive attitude to a teacher increases for sure. Positive classroom morale is enhanced right on. Right? So that is good. Remember, classroom morale, standard deviation is pretty high, is that right? So the disadvantage here is love alone is not enough. Okay, it is not enough. Okay, so this model is good for what? Psychotherapy. Like Carl Rogers is the psychotherapist at clinical psychology. Now, in terms of learning, yes, all of these here, they help. They help. But at what? Whether it is whether this model is successful or not, it is hard to tell. Right? It is hard to tell. But then all these are beautiful, right? All these are beautiful. Anyway, the best model is called what? Synthesizing teaching. What is it? To add and blend a repertoire of models to enhance what? Teaching effectiveness. Well, in other words, a rigid adherence to a single teaching strategy as a means of achieving a unique goal is to be avoided at all costs. So you don't want to stick to just model 1 or model 2 or model 3. You should blend. Okay, whenever the needs arise, you use this model, right? And so you use model 1, 2, and 3 whenever you see fit, right? So blend, synthesizing teaching is the best model. All right, now, what about what? The best the best of the best. Okay, which model is the best? Okay. Of course, here. No. Private tutoring. Okay, because it's one-on-one, no distraction. So no wonder there are so many private tutoring schools and private tutors, all right? And because it is one-on-one, and then the teacher is sitting so close to the students, right? So the student somehow is forced to pay attention. The student cannot doze off, cannot daydream, or that type of thing, right? So you probably understand worldwide, in many countries, okay, on earth here. Private tutoring is a booming business. Okay, it is a booming business because it is highly successful. It is highly successful. All right, thank you.